6th November 1934. In a Weybridge design office, Sidney Cam finalized blueprints for a fighter that would kill more enemy aircraft than any other in the Battle of Britain. The same week, 400 miles north, Reginald Mitchell sketched the elliptical wing of a machine destined to become the most famous fighter in history. Both men worked to the same Air Ministry specification. Both chose the untested Rolls-Royce Merlin engine. Both armed their designs with 8 rifle-caliber machine guns. One aircraft would be built for mass slaughter of bomber formations, the other for elegant duels at altitude. Within 18 months, prototypes of the Hawker Hurricane and Supermarine Spitfire would fly within weeks of each other. The question hanging over British fighter command was simple. When Hitler's bombers came, which design philosophy would prove superior? The rugged workhorse built for production speed, or the thoroughbred racer that took twice as long to manufacture? Cam's Hurricane flew first. On 6 November 1935, test pilot George Bull lifted K-5083 off Brooklands Aerodrome powered by a Merlin C engine, producing 990 horsepower. No armament fitted yet, but the airframe reached 315 miles per hour. The design prioritized one thing above all: getting fighters into squadron service before war started. Steel tube fuselage covered in fabric meant any rigger with basic tools could patch battle damage in 7 hours. Stressed metal construction like Mitchell's Spitfire required factory precision and weeks of downtime. 4 months later, on 5 March 1936, Mutt Summers flew Spitfire prototype K-5054 from Eastleigh with the same Merlin F engine. The elliptical wing sliced through air with less drag than anything flying. Climb rate exceeded 2,000 feet per minute. But that beautiful wing took skilled workers 3 times longer to build than Hurricane's simple tapered design. The Air Ministry faced a brutal calculation. Order 4,000 Hurricanes per year or 2,000 Spitfires for the same factory capacity and budget. They chose both, betting Britain's survival on a mixed fleet. The revolutionary decision came on 25 June 1936 at Martlesham Heath. Hurricane K-5083 underwent armament trials with 8 Browning 303-inch machine guns mounted in the wings. Not 2 guns like most European fighters, not 4, 8. Each Browning fired 334 rounds at 1,300 rounds per minute. Combined rate of fire, over 10,000 rounds per minute. The question was whether this massed battery would work. British fighter doctrine since 1918 favored a few heavy-caliber guns for concentrated punch. Squadron leader Ralph Sorley argued the opposite. Spray enough bullets and probability guaranteed hits. Trials proved him right. Hurricane's thicker wing allowed grouping the 8 guns in 2 tight batteries, 4 in each wing. Convergence pattern set at 200 yards meant all 8 streams crossed in a cone 20 feet wide. Spitfire's thinner elliptical wing forced wider spacing, convergence at 250 yards. That 50-yard difference mattered. Hurricane pilots could hold the trigger and walk fire across a bomber's fuselage. Spitfire pilots needed more precision. But neither aircraft yet faced the real test. Would rifle-caliber bullets penetrate the armor plate Germany was secretly installing on Heinkels and Dorniers? Production Hurricane Mark I number L 1547 reached number 111 Squadron at RAF Northolt on 29 November 1937. Powered by Merlin, 2 producing 1,030 horsepower, armed with 8 Brownings carrying 334 rounds per gun, fabric-covered wings, fixed-pitch wooden propeller, top speed 315 miles per hour. 6 weeks earlier, Spitfire K-9787 entered service with number 19, Squadron at Duxford. Merlin II developing 1,040 horsepower. Same 8-gun armament, but metal stressed skin wings. Variable pitch metal propeller. Top speed 355 miles per hour, 40 miles per hour faster. The performance gap was real, but so was the production gap. By September 1939, when war broke out, Fighter Command fielded 32 Hurricane squadrons with over 600 aircraft. Spitfire squadrons numbered 19 with 200 aircraft. 3-to-1 numerical advantage. The tactical doctrine emerged naturally. Mass. The Hurricanes against bomber streams, where their stable gun platform and tight convergence maximized kills. Hold the Spitfires in reserve to counter Messerschmitt Bf 109 escorts, where speed and climb rate decided survival. The phony war proved nothing. From 3 September 1939 through May 1940, Hurricanes and Spitfires flew North Sea, patrols without firing shots in anger. Production lines accelerated. By December, Fighter Command operated 1,715 Hurricanes and 1,027 Spitfires. Pilots learned their aircraft. Hurricane forgave mistakes. Thick wing stalled gently. Wide-track landing gear prevented ground loops. Forward visibility over the nose made gunnery easier. Spitfires demanded respect. Narrow gear collapsed if pilots landed crooked. Elliptical wing stalled sharp at low speeds, but in a turning fight, nothing matched it. Turning radius 880 feet versus Hurricane's 800. The difference bought life in a dogfight. Cost analysis told another story. 4,500 pounds per Hurricane. 6,000 pounds per Spitfire. For the price of 4 Spitfires, the Air Ministry bought 5 Hurricanes. When German panzers smashed into the Low Countries on 10 May 1940, that arithmetic mattered more than elegance. 16 Hurricane squadrons deployed to France. Numbers: 1, 3, 46, 79, 85, 87, 151, 213, 229, 242, 257, 501, 504, and 601. All equipped with Merlin 2 or 3 engines and 8 Brownings. 4 Spitfire squadrons remained over England, numbers 19, 65, 74, and 92. The kill claims shocked everyone. By 18 June, when France collapsed, Hurricane squadrons claimed 257 Luftwaffe aircraft destroyed. Spitfires claimed 47. 5-to-1 ratio. The media ignored it. Spitfire's sleek lines photographed better. But squadron leader Ian Gleed of number 87 Squadron knew the truth. Flying 100 sorties per day over Dunkirk, his Hurricanes shredded Stuka, dive bombers with grouped Browning fire. He told reporters, 8 guns firing together, the Hurricane barely shuddered. Steady platform. Gleed survived France with 13 kills. He would die 3 years later, 16. April 1944, but his testimony captured why Hurricane outscored the legend. Stability beat speed when targets were slow bombers packed in formation. The RAF lost 120 fighters total over France. 80 were Hurricanes, 60 Spitfires. Hurricanes absorbed losses because they flew more sorties against riskier targets. But 338,000 troops escaped Dunkirk. The fighters bought time. Hurricane Mark I with Merlin II, 1,030 horsepower, 315 miles per hour, 800-foot turning radius, 8 303 Brownings grouped tight, fabric wings repairable in 7 hours. Spitfire, Mark I with Merlin III, 1,040 horsepower, 355 miles per hour, 880-foot turn, 8 Brownings spaced wide, all metal construction requiring factory tools. Maximum takeoff weight, Hurricane 6,446 pounds, Spitfire 6,270. Hurricane carried more weight on less power, yet turned tighter because of lower wing loading and thicker airfoil. That thick wing gave another advantage pilots noticed immediately: gentle stall characteristics. Spitfire's thin elliptical section stalled sharp, snapping into a spin if mishandled. Hurricane mushed, giving warning buffet. For the flood of novice pilots joining Fighter Command in summer 1940, that forgiveness meant survival during training. Experienced aces preferred Spitfire's razor edge. The cost difference reflected manufacturing complexity. Hurricane's steel tube fuselage used 1932 technology. Spitfire's monocoque stress skin demanded precision riveting and compound curves. Both philosophies worked. The question was, which would matter more when the real battle started? 10 July 1940, Kanalkampf, Channel Battle. Hermann Göring sent Luftwaffe bomber formations against British convoys to draw Fighter Command into attrition. 29 Hurricane squadrons with 600 aircraft scrambled from southern airfields. Merlin 2 and 3 engines, 8 Brownings, orders to hit the bombers. 19 Spitfire squadrons with 300 aircraft held top cover against Bf-109 escorts. The tactical split made sense. Hurricanes climbed slower, but their grouped guns devastated Dorner and Heinkel formations. Spitfires matched 109s in speed and altitude. 15 August 1940, the Luftwaffe's heaviest assault before official Eagle Day. Number 501 Squadron. Hurricanes intercepted a Dornier stream over Kent. Pilot Officer Clive Barker pressed through defensive fire, 8 Brownings hammering. He downed 3 Do-17s in a single engagement before ground fire killed him weeks later. His squadron absorbed hits that would have shredded Spitfires. Steel tube fuselage and fabric covering stopped 15mm cannon shells that punched through aluminum monocoque. The RAF lost. 34 fighters that day, 26 Hurricanes. Luftwaffe lost 69. By August end, Hurricanes claimed 60% of over 600 Luftwaffe kills. The slower, less glamorous fighter was winning. 7 September 1940. Göring switched targets from airfields to London. Phase 3 of the battle. Peak intensity. Hurricanes tasked bomber streams with Merlin 3 engines and 8 Brownings converging at 200 yards. Spitfires engaged fighter escorts with same armament but wider spacing. Stanford Tuck, flying both types, noted the difference. The Hurricane barely shuddered when firing all 8 Brownings, rock steady. Spitfire's lighter structure vibrated more under sustained fire. Accuracy suffered, but Spitfire pilots accepted the trade for speed advantage in disengaging. Through October, the grind continued. Ian Gleed accumulated 13 kills on Hurricane Mark I. His logbook entry for one sortie: 8 guns, steady platform, bomber fell apart. And he would not survive the war. 31st October 1940. Battle of Britain officially ended. Final tally: Hurricanes 1,593 claims, 60% of total. Spitfires 992 claims. RAF losses: 915 fighters, 557 Hurricanes, 358 Spitfires. 544 aircrew killed. Luftwaffe 1,887 aircraft, 2,585 aircrew dead. Britain survived. But October brought recognition that 8 rifle-caliber guns were not enough. Hurricane Mark II-C arrived in squadron service October 1940. Merlin 20 engine, 1,260 horsepower baseline, 1,440 emergency boost. Armament Revolution, 420mm Hispano cannons, 150 rounds per gun. The Browning 7mm bullet penetrated thin aluminum. Hispano's explosive shell punched through 60 millimeters of armor plate and detonated inside the target. 4 cannon hits destroyed a bomber. 8 Browning hits tickled it. 4,495 Hurricane YICs built, more than any other Hurricane variant. Spitfire Mark 5B followed with Merlin 45, developing 1,470 horsepower. Mixed armament, 220mm Hispanos with 140 rounds per gun, plus 4 Brownings with 375 rounds each. 6,479 Mark 5Bs produced, the most common Spitfire fighter. But early Spitfire cannons suffered catastrophic jamming. Hispano belt feed mechanism froze in the thin elliptical wing. Fabric-covered Hurricane C wing absorbed recoil better, feed stayed aligned. Reliability mattered more than elegance when a Focke-Wulf 190 closed at 400 miles per hour. The Merlin 20 upgrade gave Hurricane another lease. 1,260 horsepower pushed top speed to 340 miles per hour, nearly matching Spitfire Mark 1. Emergency boost to 1,440 horsepower for short bursts, but the airframe hit its ceiling. Thick wing and fabric covering created drag the Merlin couldn't overcome. Spitfire's clean lines accepted more power. February 1941, North Africa. Hurricane Mark I tropicalized with dust filters on Merlin II, and 3 engines arrived at number 73 Squadron, Tobruk, Libya. 8 Brownings shredded Italian CR-42 biplanes over the desert. May 1941, Malta, Spitfire. Mark 5Bs with Merlin 45 and mixed cannon armament reinforced the siege. 270 Axis aircraft fell defending convoys through the Mediterranean gauntlet. June 1941. Germany invaded the Soviet Union. Britain shipped over 3,000 Hurricanes to Russia via Arctic convoys. Merlin 20 engines, some with 8 Brownings, others 4 cannons. Soviet pilots loved them. Nikolai Guliev scored 57 kills on Hurricanes, earning Hero of the Soviet Union. He downed 4 aircraft in one sortie, despite no cockpit pressurization at altitude. Russians modified Hurricanes with ski landing gear for winter operations. April 1942. Pacific. Singapore and Java. Hurricane Mark 2B and 2C with Merlin 20-faced Mitsubishi Zeros. 8 Brownings proved useless against Zero's maneuverability and light construction. 4 cannons lacked ammunition capacity for sustained dogfighting. 200 Hurricanes lost in weeks. The RAF should have deployed cannon-armed IICs from the start, but logistics sent obsolete Browning-armed IIBs instead. 1942. Arctic convoys. Sea Hurricane, Mark 2C with Merlin 20 and 4 cannons launched from HMS Activity and other escort carriers. Wider landing gear than Spitfire's Seafire enabled stable carrier landings. Seafires wrecked at twice the rate. Sea Hurricanes hooked 15 Axis bombers defending Murmansk supply. Runs. Hurricane reached its most radical form in the Mark IID Merlin 20 engine. Armament. 240mm Vickers S anti-tank cannons with 7 rounds per gun, plus 2 Brownings for ranging. 795 built. November 1942, El Alamein, Egypt. Number 6 Squadron. Mark IIDs claimed over 100 Axis tanks and vehicles with 40mm armor-piercing rounds, 60mm penetration at close range. But limitations were severe. 7 rounds per minute rate of fire, only 7 rounds total per gun. Pilots fired, broke off, rearmed, repeated. Vulnerability during attack runs was extreme. Flak killed more IID pilots than fighters. Hurricane Mark IV took versatility further. Merlin 32 developing 1,000 I-745 horsepower. Universal Wing accepting rocket rails or 4 cannons. 3,171 produced. 1943 Burma, Imphal campaign. Mark IV Hurricanes fired rockets at Japanese. Bunkers, while Spitfire Mark VIIIs with Merlin 66 at 1,700 horsepower and mixed armament maintained air superiority. The divergence was complete. Hurricane became ground attack specialist. Spitfire remained pure fighter. Armament choices cemented the split. 40mm cannons and rockets had no place in air combat. 20mm cannons and Brownings could not bust tanks. 1943 Spitfire. Mark IX with Merlin 61 and 66 engines at 1,700 horsepower entered service. Two-stage supercharger enabled high-altitude performance Hurricane could never match. 5,665 Mark IXs built. Hurricane development peaked with Mark V trials. Merlin 45, 1,478 horsepower, 369 miles per hour, ceiling 36,089 feet. Spitfire. Mark IX with Merlin 66, same speed, ceiling 36,499 feet. Climb rate 2,666 feet per minute versus Hurricane's 2,520. On paper, nearly equal. In reality, Hurricane's thick wing and fabric covering hit an aerodynamic wall. Spitfire's clean, elliptical design accepted more power without drag penalty. 6 June 1944. D-Day, Normandy. Spitfire. Mark IXs and Mark XVIs with Merlin 66 and IXLF engines flew over 1,000 escort sorties per day. Hurricanes relegated to ground attack with rockets and bombs. By 1944, Hurricane was obsolete as air superiority fighter despite continued production for close support roles. The airframe that won the Battle of Britain could not compete at 450 miles per hour and 40,000 feet. Strategic reality. Hurricane's design maximized production speed and battlefield survivability. Spitfire's design maximized performance and evolution potential. Both succeeded, but only one could accept the next leap. Rolls-Royce Griffin 65, 2,050 horsepower, 37 liters displacement versus Merlin's 27. 5-blade propeller, installed in Spitfire. Mark XIV, it created a fighter beyond Hurricane's wildest dreams. 957 Mark XIV built. Armament, 2 20mm Hispano cannons plus 450 caliber Browning M, 2 heavy machine guns. The 50 caliber fired 1,100 grain bullets at 2,900 feet per second. Armor-piercing incendiary rounds shredded German fighters. Top speed exceeded 450 miles per hour. Hurricane never received Griffin. Steel tube fuselage and fabric construction could not handle 2,000 horsepower and torque. The airframe that prioritized ruggedness in 1934 reached its limit. Spitfire's stressed skin monocoque absorbed power, increases Cam never imagined. August 1945. VJ Day. Last Spitfire. Mark XIV operations in the Pacific. Hurricanes had been phased. Out of frontline fighter service by 1944. Final production totals, 14,533 Hurricanes across all variants. 20,351 Spitfires. Hurricane Mark I, 3,634. Mark IIc, 4,495. Mark IV, 3,171. Spitfire Mark 1 and 2, 6,000. Mark 5, 6,479. Mark 9, 5,665. The numbers told the story. Hurricane dominated early war production. Spitfire dominated late war as performance demands escalated. Battle of Britain final accounting. Hurricane's 1,593 claims 60% of total kills. Spitfire's 992 claims 40%. RAF lost 915 fighters, 557 Hurricanes, 358 Spitfires, 544 aircrew killed. Luftwaffe 1,800. 87 aircraft lost, 2,585 aircrew dead. The paradox: Hurricane outscored Spitfire, yet Spitfire became the legend. Explanation: Hurricanes tasked riskier bomber attacks, higher claims, but also higher losses. Spitfires engaged fighters in glamorous dogfights that captured media attention and public imagination. Newsreels showed Spitfire's graceful lines. Propaganda posters featured elliptical wings. Hurricane's fabric-covered bulk looked obsolete even in 1940. But pilots knew. Stanford Tuck. Hurricane responded progressively, superior forward view, steadier gun platform. Ian Gleed, 8 guns, steady platform. The testimonies piled up. Hurricane killed more because it was built to kill bombers, and bombers were what Germany sent. Some historians dispute Hurricane as top 5 all-time scorer because ground attack and convoy protection claims inflate totals versus pure air-to-air kills. Debate continues. Soviet modifications proved Hurricane's versatility. Ski landing gear for winter operations. Nikolai Gulayev downed 4 aircraft in one sortie despite no cockpit pressurization. Sea Hurricane versus Seafire. Hurricane's wider landing gear enabled stable carrier landings. Seafire's narrow track caused deck crashes at twice the rate. Singapore mistake. 8 Brownings ineffective against 0 armor. 140 Hurricanes lost in 10 days. RAF should have deployed 4-cannon IC's Hurricane. Total production: 14,533 fighters across 32 variants. Spitfire, 20,351 across 24 fighter marks. Battle of Britain, RAF, 1,733 victories. Hurricane, 60%. 915 fighters lost. 557 Hurricanes, 358 Spitfires. Luftwaffe, 1,887 aircraft, 2,585 aircrew. Cost analysis: Hurricane, 4,500 pounds versus Spitfire 6,000 pounds in 1939 prices. Hurricane provided 33% more aircraft per pound sterling. Doctrinal lessons: Hurricane proved stability, versatility, and mass production viable strategy. Spitfire showed performance edge enables smaller elite force. Modern academic debate: Hurricane 60% Battle of Britain killshare challenges. Spitfire-centric narrative. Ground attack claims inflate totals versus pure fighter kills. Strategic verdict: both necessary. Hurricane absorbed bomber threat while Spitfire countered fighter escorts. Mixed fleet doctrine validated. Neither could have won alone. The slower, cheaper, more forgiving Hurricane killed more enemy aircraft. The faster, expensive, high-performance Spitfire evolved into the ultimate piston fighter. Both mattered. 11 flyable Hurricanes remain today, all Mark 1 or 2 variants. 54 flyable Spitfires across all marks. Spitfires longer. Service life preserved more examples. RAF Museum, Hendon, displays Hurricane R4118, Battle of Britain veteran from number 6 05 Squadron. Spitfire P7350, oldest airworthy example, flew combat in 1940. Biggin Hill and Kent Memorials commemorate both types. Annual flypasts honor the few. 1969 film Battle of Britain used authentic Hurricane and Spitfire armament details. IL-2 Sturmovik flight simulator accurately models Hurricane Mark 2C4 20mm cannon layout. Military academies teach Hurricane case study. Stability and forgiveness over raw performance for mass pilot training. Academic legacy continues. Books like Hurricane, Victor of the Battle of Britain challenged Spitfire mythology. The debate will never end. 6 November 1934, Sidney Cam finalized a design philosophy. Build it rugged, build it fast, arm it heavy, trust pilots to aim. 5 March 1936, Reginald Mitchell finalized his Build it light, build it fast, let performance win. Both succeeded beyond imagination. Hurricane's 60% kill share and multi-role versatility won the war. Spitfire's evolution and aesthetic won history's memory. Neither could have done it alone. The question was never which design was superior. The question was which role each would fill when the bombers came. History answered both.